No Pants Daniel asks, do you feel movie preview cycles are too long? Advertising a 2-hour piece of content for 1.5 years seems crazy.
I think it all depends on the franchise. Is it a movie? That's why I like this kind of that I talked about this before about that 10 Cloverfield Lane, like them just announcing it. We get the stuff and then the movie. Because if it was a 1.5 years for that, there's no way there'd be that much buzz on it and people would forget and people would lose interest. So I think it depends on the franchise.
You're right, because like something like Cloverfield, no one knew at all that it was coming out. Then you put it out. Oh, and by the way, it's coming out soon. Great, I get to see this thing soon. Star Wars, you can do that a year ahead. Civil War, you can do that. See, I think that Batman v Superman, because I think originally it was supposed to come out in December of last year, so that's why they started advertising a little early. But I think that depending on the franchise, like you were saying, Dennis, and depending on how if they have a trailer that they can cut or they have anything that they can show at a convention or anything too, a year for certain franchises work. Other ones, I think, between like 5 or 6 months out.
Absolutely. I think you both are absolutely right. It's all franchise based. And it's very similar to CDs or digital music, whatever they're calling it nowadays. Like Beyonce can drop one with 24 hours notice. People go insane and buy it by millions. Kanye's been talking about this Life of Pablo forever, and the interest
But
of
he's
it
broke
wanes.
now, right? Isn't
Supposedly.
Kanye broke? He's asking Zuckerberg for a bunch of
Yeah. But it's just that kind of thing. You can do a too far out promotion that can start to poke holes in your movie, like Superman versus Batman. A lot of people poke holes. It's a very divisive movie at this point. So, but I think your responsibility is to whet the appetite of the audience if you have the right franchise. And Star Wars showed you could do it effectively.
Yeah, and where's that Rogue One trailer? I want it now.
That was where I was going to go with that, because like Episode 7 can tease a year out, as where Rogue One isn't known to everyone too. So I think that the marketing play actually makes sense here. That we're going to get it probably in like a month or so before like Jungle Book.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Matt Stoker asks, what is the single biggest change that has happened to the film industry in the last 20 years?
Oh, man, that's tough.
Can I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say digital downloads.
Okay.
Digital downloads have changed everything. They're making DVDs and Blu-rays almost irrelevant. And the fact that you go to a Best Buy and they're all mixed in now, when they used to have their own sections. I think that people are accumulating digital downloads in mass and saving them on. They're buying extra hard drives to just save movies on and watch whenever they want. Plus the fact that you can connect it to your television and watch on your television effectively without having to put anything into a system, any disc or anything into a system is amazing.
Mine is similar to yours. Mine is digital acquisition and distribution. So being able to shoot digitally and then being able to distribute it digitally to the theaters and then also on VOD. I think that's changing the industry, and it's going to change it for in the future as well.
That's where I was going. I was going to go digital as well, just as far as it's like a big deal now when someone goes, we're shooting on film. Like 20 years ago someone's like,
that's a big deal to some people.
It's a story. We talk about it. Like
the
fact that Star Wars is shooting in 35 and everything too. Like,
do you think the audience really cares about
No,
that?
I don't. Not as much, but it's a big change from the way, if you look at it as far as what the biggest change is, that you look at what filmmakers, the way the filmmakers shoot and the schedules and the way that it's easier to shoot on digital, and it's easy, and some purists like the Tarantinos of the world, like and even J.J. Abrams, they want to stick with the way that the film looks. So I would say that by going to digital is the biggest change.
And I have no problem with filmmakers choosing to shoot on film. I'm just saying I don't think it's a big enough a deal for an audience that actually will care about it, but I think the acquisition distribution is what the game changer is.
Admiral Dios makes a great point here in the chat room. He says the biggest change is more butter on his popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Henrik Grandlid asks, will we ever get another set of good high fantasy movies? Still staring sadly at the heap of garbage that came after Lord of the Rings.
Christian?
Will we get some fantasy movies? Yeah, I think we will, and I think that it's it's harder to make the original ones, even the ones based off the books. But I think we can get some good ones. I'd like to see a remake or a sequel to Legend, the Ridley Scott movie. I'd like to see Dark Crystal. I'd like to see some more with that. I still think that Masters of the Universe, and I've been saying this forever, if you mix it, please get McGee out of there. But if you mix it with sci-fi meets fantasy, that is an epic franchise. And again, I have met McGee. He is the nicest guy on the planet. Nice guy. He is a super nice guy. There could not be a wrong person to direct this. JTE could direct this thing before he could. So.
I would say that this gentleman has a valid point. even though I disagree with this premise, because I'm one of the few people on the planet who likes the Hobbit trilogy. So I love the dwarfs. What can I tell you? But I would say it's really difficult because young adult stuff is taking over. These franchises are doing, and superhero franchises. So it's really hard to shoehorn a fantasy trilogy in there. So it might be a while until one grabs our attention in mass as a public. I don't see there's one that's jumping out that people are
Warcraft.
clamoring. Oh yeah, but does that trailer excite you? I'm a little on the edge about
I'm
it.
looking forward
Yeah?
to it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And Duncan Jones, I'm a big fan of because of Moon
Duncan's
and Source
great.
Code.
Yes.
Wait and see how that does. But for me, Lord of the Rings was the one that brought fantasy at least more to the mainstream and won so many Oscars. I think another game changer, though, is possibly Game of Thrones. Even though we're talking about television,
True.
it's an R-rated, adult fantasy.
Yeah.
And people are talking about this whole, with Deadpool it being R and bringing in this, maybe superheroes going to be all R-rated. I'm hoping that something, whether Game of Thrones comes to the movies or a Game of Thrones type fantasy, breaks out in the movie theaters, and then maybe we can see an incoming batch of those versus the like Seventh Son,
Yeah.
that
God.
crap,
That doesn't help its cause.
No, it doesn't.
Um,
And fantasy costs a lot of money, just
Yeah.
like superhero movies
Yeah.
do, and so you've got to make your money back.
we talked about yesterday was Willow. Like I can't
yeah.
see maybe Willow 2 or a sequel to Willow or a prequel to Willow, whatever it is like that. That'd be interesting to see if Lucasfilm will go ahead and do that.
All right, what's next?
Rye Hickson asks, since Harper Lee just died, will we see a remake of To Kill a Mockingbird in our lifetimes?
I don't think so because it just for the times it was such a relevant movie for the times, and that's one movie that I don't really I don't know, I don't want to see that movie made now.
I think they will. I think they will. It's such a classic that eventually someone is going to
so?
remake it, and as long as they do it right and keep it faithful to the book.
Yeah.
Or, unless maybe they do a modern retelling, maybe that could be.
Yeah, but that's just make an original movie then. I don't know.
What can I tell you? I'm a huge fan of that classic film, and it would drive me insane if they remade it.
Yeah.
If they do it, sometimes they'll do it in TV, like they redid 12 Angry Men, they remade all these other classic films, and they did TV versions of them. That might work. But if they remade this, it would give Hollywood the perfect opportunity to reverse the Oscars So White campaign. They would throw all the Oscars in the world at that film if they remade it effectively. And you possibly could. You could see Idris Elba as the slave. You could see, I don't know, maybe Fassbender as the lawyer, as Atticus Finch as the Gregory Peck character. Certainly all kinds of possibilities. And there are definitely a lot of younger female actresses and child actresses that are working now that could work effectively. But it would just be dangerous. It's such, because some people revere that movie for so many reasons.
I actually just heard this morning on the radio that Aaron Sorkin was rumored to want to do like a theater adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, that would
I
be
could
great.
see
Yeah,
that
that'd be.
happening.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, what's next?
Brendan Barry asks, do you think movies tend to do better in bad economic times? For example, Gone with the Wind in 39 and Avatar in 09?
I mean, there is that theory that more people go to the movies because if they're depressed or there's less things to do. I mean, that they also say that about McDonald's, that in depressions or in recessions that more people will go to McDonald's. Actually sells more because people have less money and they have I don't know. Do I think that's true or not? I don't think so anymore, at least because we have so many ways to entertain ourselves now. You got video games, comic books, movies, television. You can watch VOD. You got Netflix, Amazon. There's just so many ways to entertain yourself. So I don't know if movies is necessarily the go-to one anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think for what you're saying in regards to there's so many different mediums, that's where you go back. That was like the one, and that, and maybe some live theater. But yeah, I don't think so.
I think it all depends on the movie. If the movie's a hopeful movie like Avatar was, and it touches something going on in the cultural zeitgeist, it'll make the money. But the movie's prices are getting so high, a lot of people don't want to go. It's almost like going to the ball game now. You're spending $100 at the theater or $150 at the theater for your family and concessions and the movie
Gotta
prices.
pick and choose.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose. So it's a lot more dangerous to do it that way. So I think occasional films will blow up, but not
Yeah,
en
like a
masse.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Wars.
But it won't be across the board.
All right, what's next?
All right. Dylan asks, after hearing about a live-action Astro Boy film, I feel like a live-action Mega Man film will have more success. Thoughts?
if you're going to compare the two, then I actually would agree with you more to where I think it could serve well as a fun animation. I don't know, not live action though, because that's what they're doing with Astro
But how do you
Boy.
do the character? I mean, the whole selling point of Mega Man is the way he looks.
Yeah.
How do you
be
translate
animated.
into live action?
Yeah.
I think a 3D animated film. I mean, he's definitely no more recognizable than Astro Boy.
Right.
So you have that, but yeah, I would go 3D animated.
Yeah, plus that big blue head.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we're talking
No,
No,
yeah,
you're,
Mega Man.
you're thinking
No,
of
I'm joking.
okay, Mega Man.
Mega Mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, I'm joking. But no, Mega Man. It would be interesting. It's always tough to translate those type of properties into live action. I mean, there's that rumor of Simpsons, or actually it's going to happen. Simpsons is doing a live action Simpsons. I'm like this about it, because you're so used to seeing it in a certain way, because that form or that media works better for that property or that franchise, and Mega Man works better in a certain way. Animated works better. 3D makes total sense. Live action would just you would lose so much in the translation.
You're crazy. The Flintstones was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Chipmunks too, right?
Yeah,
totally.
God, stinking shit.
All right.
Oh God.
What's next?
Dylan Davidson asks, which TV villain do you think would transfer well to the big screen? I think Zoom from The Flash and Kilgrave would be good.
Absolutely with Zoom.
All right, why don't you start?
Well, absolutely with Zoom. What a great thing. I'm such a fan of that character and how he seems to transcend the show. He really makes the show into a whole nother type of TV that you haven't seen in a long time. Because of the foundation of it is a CW foundation, but Zoom takes it out of it. TV villain, probably, I don't know, maybe Frank Underwood from House of Cards. If you could see him in like an Aaron Sorkin written and well-directed film that explored that as possibility, or anybody from Game of Thrones. Like, seriously, would be a fantastic villain who we've seen Lena Headey do that many times.
That's where I was going to go with Game of Thrones, with any one of the villains from Game of Thrones.
I go with Kingpin from Daredevil.
Yeah.
You could
yeah.
make a Kingpin movie rated R with Daredevil and Punisher in it. I think it would. I don't know if it would do well at the box office, but I think it would be a good movie.
I would like to see that.
All right, let's do two more.
Kylau Ren asks, which franchise do you think might be in store for an unwanted reboot in the near future?
Unwanted. Man, they talked. I mean, they kept mentioning Jaws, and you better leave that alone. That's one I would not want to see. I wouldn't want to see Back to the Future. They've rumored it, but then it's been shot down. I don't know. I don't know what's going to be rebooted that I don't want to see yet.
I would say Die Hard. If they rebooted Die Hard, I don't want to see.
And they kind of are, right? With year one, where they're doing.
What are we year one? Does that mean this has always been happening to John McClane, and then he's just this like Bermuda Triangle of trouble that everything happens within this certain this dude? It just, all of that is like, he's not a comic book character. Like, he's a real person. Supposedly, that's what was so appealing about Die Hard. He's a real guy, just like all of us, in a situation, and he's trying to get out of it. And if you start to go year one, you start to go backstory, and he's got some person who trained him from the Orient. Like, get out of here. Like, so I would hate to see a Die Hard reboot. Willis did it. It was great. Let's all move on. There's other things to make.
So this franchise we don't want rebooted.
Don't.
Right.
Okay. Godfather.
Yeah.
There's
But
always
do you think
people-
it's going to happen?
You're
That was
right.
a question.
I heard rumors of they were going to do like a Godfather TV show or TV series or something like that. I don't know about the movie. They probably will at some point, but I don't know if you can recapture what happened in that film. Yeah. All right. Well, it's the last question.
Emil Johansson asks, what do you think was the main problem with Green Lantern? Ryan Reynolds, the acting, or maybe the directing or screenplay? Thanks.
I'm not going to blame Ryan Reynolds for it, because I don't blame him. I think that the studio had no idea what they wanted to do with the movie at the time. There's no direction. They were just kind of throwing up superhero movie to try to do what Marvel was doing, and they had no direction at all. I liked the director, but I didn't think that it worked. I think I'd blame the director and studio direction.
I blame the direction of the movie in terms of choosing to tell most of the story on Earth. They should have done it out in space. All the space stuff was the best part.
Yeah.
Like, obviously this was pre-Guardians of the Galaxy, so they were more hesitant to do it. I think now if they were to do it, they're like, okay, let's spend the money and actually do kind of a space opera type story. And I think that's its biggest flaw.
Yeah, you make a great point, Dennis. Everything that happened out in space, all his training, everything like that, everything going on with the corpse was great. Inside joke with the Green Lantern Corps was great. I mean, it was great to see that come to life. And the Guardians were awesome. The Oa Guardians were so great to see come to life in space. But as soon as it got down to Earth and you had the Blake Lively stuff and you had all that stuff that really didn't work, the film lost itself. And you're right, I don't blame Reynolds either. I think Reynolds was doing his thing. You cast Ryan Reynolds, that's who you're going to get. When you watch Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds. And so that's what makes that film work. It's in a better situation, and that's why it works better than Green Lantern did. And definitely studio and the director, definitely.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, click here to watch the entire episode. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because it'll help you stay up to date with all the stuff we've got going on here at Collider.